Hello, this is Mashit and Smash It, but you can call me Mash or Mash It for short. Good things are not meant to last. Everything you know and love will be gone one day, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Well, that's a fun way to start a video. But in all seriousness, we are now reaching the end of an era. The last Disney movie released before World War II forced them to spend almost a decade on package films, and arguably the last animated movie of the golden era of animation. One of the most celebrated animated films of all time, Bambi. Released in 1942 by Walt Disney Productions, and based on the book Bambi, A Life in the Woods by Felix Salten, the movie revolutionized the art of animal anatomy and animation. Try saying that 10 times fast, by closely studying the animals portrayed and getting their movements as accurate as possible. The film also utilized a fully detailed environment, designed by Tyrus Wong, and it did some similar tricks as Fantasia by relying on the beautiful environment and setting various actions to music. It was in production for about as long as Disney has been working on full-length movies, and was originally intended to be their second movie, but was constantly pushed back in order to perfect the many technical aspects that Walt Disney wanted to get just right. I guess you can say he succeeded. The movie follows a young fawn named Bambi, who is the son of the great prince of the forest. As he grows up in the woods, he gradually learns the ways of nature, survival, and the destructive tendencies of man. Once he has become an adult, he falls in love with a doe named Feline, who he knew since childhood, and soon has to protect the forest from a team of hunters and their ferocious hunting dogs. Oh, and spoiler alert, the mom dies! And in terms of story, that's about all I can pull up. This isn't really a continuous storyline so much as it is a glimpse into the life of a young deer. There is conflict, sure, but it's hardly the focus of the movie. It's mostly just about watching Bambi grow up and learn about the world around him, adapting to it in the process. And honestly, that's all it really needs to be. Not every movie needs to be this big, epic adventure, or even have much of a plot. Sometimes the simple life of a simple character is all the story you need, as long as it's compelling enough. And needless to say, this movie is indeed quite compelling. And also, needless to say, the animation is some of the best I've covered so far for this series, easily in the same league as Fantasia. In fact, in some areas, it might be even better than Fantasia, because this is the movie where they took the most care to perfectly capture the behaviors of forest creatures. Just look at the ways Bambi's legs move. The deer from Snow White was child's play compared to this attention to detail. And I don't think any other movie I've covered yet has put so much gorgeous detail into the environment, and with said movies including Prince Ahmed, Tale of the Fox, and the other Disney movies, that's certainly saying something. Major props to Tyrus Wong, clearly a master of his craft. And damn, he lived to be 106, having died just over a year ago. That's impressive. It's telling that the opening shot of this movie is just a slow pan through the woods, and goes on for what seems to be a solid minute, and it still manages to keep me invested. It's just that beautiful. The characters are very simple, hardly anything about any of them that stands out from other Disney characters. Though again, due to the nature, pun not intended, of this movie, they don't need to be complex or unique, as long as they can still be likable. Case in point, Bambi. He's just this innocent child discovering the world around him for the first time. And come on, he's just adorable. Every moment his young self has, from being greeted by the other animals right after being born, to learning to talk, to slipping around on the ice, he is just precious. Thumper isn't far behind in the cute department. I mean, he's a childlike, accurately proportioned bunny. I really like how blissfully unaware he can be when it comes to things like behavior, respecting others, and eating healthy. He's like your typical average little kid, not trying to be bad, just following his own personal compass without realizing the consequences. Some of my favorite lines in the movie are when his mother makes him repeat something his father told him. He also kind of serves as a big brother of sorts to Bambi, helping him make his first steps, helping him say his first words, and even trying to teach him how to ice skate. It doesn't quite work out. Nonetheless, I sure wish I had a friend like Thumper when I was a kid. And now for Flower. Yeah, seriously, what the hell is up with Flower? Putting aside the fact that he has the exact same mannerisms as Bashful from Snow White, well, he seems to really enjoy his namesake, if you know what I mean. To the point that it's easy to mistake him for a girl until he grows up and has the voice of Sterling Holloway in his second Disney role. Yeah, it's not as easy to spot his voice as his other roles, but he is in fact the voice for adult Flower. Honestly, he has no real contribution to the movie, even considering the nature, again, pun not intended, of the plot. At least Thumper was helpful. Flower could be written out of the movie entirely and not really affect anything. But regardless, I have so many questions about this little skunk, and not enough time to ask all of them. For starters, where are this kid's parents? Why do we never see them? Are skunks just left on their own at a young age? Well, I certainly feel bad for his kid at the end, who he names after the protagonist.
Hurry up, Bambi.
Yes, Papa, I'm coming.
Which leads into my next question. What is his real name? He pretty much just lets Bambi call him Flower, and since we never see his parents, we never find out if they actually named him that or not. Which leads into my final question about him that I will ask for this video. What is up with his reaction to Bambi calling him Flower? He seems to take a lot of pleasure from it.
Oh, that's all right. He can call me a flower if he wants to. Pretty flower. Oh! Gosh.
Hey, you know, I'm not judging. Whichever way you roll, kid, you do you. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Of course, when he grows up, he does become infatuated with what is clearly a female skunk, otherwise he wouldn't have had kids, not without scientific achievements that weren't even around in the 1940s, let alone in the animal kingdom. Hell, the owl character even seems to make the same assumption as many viewers might.
They're Twitter-pated. You're walking along, minding your own business. You're looking neither to the left nor to the right, when all of a sudden, you run smack into a pretty face. Woo-hoo! It could happen to you, and yes, it could even happen to you.
Yes, that Twitter pating can turn even the fruitiest of fruits straight. Okay, I know that's a little uncalled for, but keep in mind, this is the 1940s we're talking about. Say what you will about how certain people are treated nowadays, whether they're women, blacks, homosexuals, or even straight white men, but the 40s were worse in every way. For instance, I wouldn't be surprised if they did intend to portray Flower finding the hetero in him. Maybe the visual gag after he gets kissed is a metaphor for going straight. Either that, or it's a metaphor for an erection, just like the similar gag with Thumper a moment later. And while we're on the subject of naughty undertones, watching the scene with the birds mating is a little more uncomfortable as an adult, knowing what all this is implying. It doesn't help that this comes right after the infamous scene where the mother gets shot, with one of the worst transitions in movie history. This has been talked about plenty of times, I need not go into any further detail. Probably the best thing to do is to stop the movie after the previous scene, watch the direct-to-DVD sequel that takes place between these scenes, and then go back to the original and continue where you left off. That will at least ease the mood whiplash. And as for the rest of the Twitter-pating scene, it's amusing enough, if a little juvenile. Though I guess it's just like what I talked about in my Tale of the Fox review. They're animals, and they operate in a much more primal fashion than we sophisticated humans. Just take Harvey Weinstein, for example. Now that is a true specimen of wild animal. Same goes for Al Franken, Kevin Spacey, Louis C.K., and all those other guys. This does unfortunately come at the expense of any compelling romances, though I guess Bambi at least met Feline when they were kids, and they played around a little. Otherwise, not much to her character. And for that matter, there's not much to adult Bambi either. Not that they have to be interesting for a movie like this, but I don't know. Both of Bambi's parents are memorable purely for their presence. The mother makes for an excellent parental figure, giving her son all the advice he needs to grow and survive, while also protecting him at all costs. Her voice actress played her flawlessly, with a voice that is gentle but commanding. When I watched Dumbo, I admired how great of a parent the mom seemed to be, especially in standing up for him. But I think Bambi's mom has her beat, at least in terms of constantly being there. I mean, yes, it wasn't Mrs. Jumbo's fault she got locked up, but due to that, we don't see as much of her raising her son. Bambi's mom keeps at it all the way until... yeah, that. Now, I have a confession to make. This scene kind of flew over my head as a kid. I think because they never explicitly showed the body, all I really picked up was that the mother has somehow vanished. But yeah, I sure became aware of this scene's legacy by watching shows like Animaniacs. By the time I understood what happened, I didn't really care. It doesn't help that this wasn't one of those movies I watched over and over again as a kid, despite having it on VHS. Now, Lion King, that's a different story altogether. Everything said, I do really like how this scene is handled, through the subtlety of what happened, as well as the unfortunate first line of the father.
Your mother can't be with you anymore. Come, my son.
Wow. That is pretty heavy. Man, watching this now, it hits so much harder. I think I need a moment to get my emotions together. What the hell? And while we're on the father, let's just say that he's got a similar charm as the mother, only in smaller doses due to rarely being there. Yep, it's one of those dads. But despite that, I am willing to buy that his job as GPOTF cuts some significant time out of father and son time. At least he does a good job keeping the entire forest safe, including, well, his son. And finally, the most important player in this tale, man! Now I have no doubt that we'll be seeing quite a bit of this character in our exploration through the history of animated films. For now, the message of destructive humans is handled with enough subtlety. But despite never appearing on screen, the hunters themselves are about as subtle as a cloud of smog with the voice of Dr. Frankenfurter. I mean, look at how reckless they are. They don't even care what they hit, they'll just shoot at anything that moves. Then they light the forest on fire and their dogs look like demons from hell. I know this isn't how the creators of the movie see all humans, but maybe tone it down on these guys a bit. Though this does have a really intense moment, that's possibly even sadder than the death of Bambi's mom.
Listen. He's coming. Hush. Be quiet. He's coming closer. Be calm. Don't get excited. We'd better fly. No, don't fly. Whatever you do, don't fly. He's almost here. I can't stand it any longer.
Did I mention that this bird is voiced by the same actress as Bambi's mom? I mean, damn, did Disney have a vendetta against this lady or something? And going back to when Bambi's mom was still alive, I should also give a shout out to the scene where they reach the meadow for the first time. Despite the audience not being expected to know what's at stake yet, it's a really intense moment. It doesn't help if you're watching this knowing what's going to happen to Bambi's mom, especially if you don't remember when it happens. Same goes for the scene where the hunters make their first appearance. These two scenes almost feel like teases in that case. And finally, let's talk about the songs. Unlike most Disney classics, pretty much none of the songs from this movie have become iconic, which is a shame because I quite like most of the songs. Love Is a Song is a very beautiful theme song to the movie and sets the tone very well. And props to the lady singing. Oh, wait, it's a man. My bad. But my favorite song in the movie is easily Little April Shower. It perfectly mixes the fascination of seeing waterfall, as well as the fear and foreboding of thunder and lightning, all while setting each little movement to music, much like what Fantasia did. And it is excellently composed. And then for the aforementioned bird mating scene, we have Let's Sing a Gay Little Spring Song. Gay as in happy. Times were different in the 40s, and I'm pretty sure all these couples are male and female, though maybe some of them are hiding something. Whatever, this song is dated in more ways than one, and again, the fact that it comes right after many people's childhood trauma does not help matters. It's basic, and there's no more need to dwell on this stupid scene. Though the next song, Looking for Romance, is a nice little Can You Feel the Love Tonight type ballad, though despite the imagery all throughout it being Bambi and Feline simply running, it does feel like the kind of music that would play during the big love-making scene. Though I guess that does happen off-screen after it ends. Seriously, how does a Disney movie with cute forest animals make me talk so much about sex and violence? So, final verdict on the movie? It's really good. But do I consider it a favorite? Not really. I know a lot of people love this movie to death, and I can totally understand that. But me personally, it's not quite as engaging as certain other Disney favorites. Out of the ones I've covered so far, I'd probably rank it as my least favorite next to Dumbo. But like I said in my review for that movie, just look at the competition. I'd still say this movie is pretty close behind Snow White, which no movie should ever be ashamed of. In the end, I'd still say that this movie did its job very well, and highly recommend it to anyone who's a fan of Disney or animation in general. Of course, if you are, chances are you've already seen it, and gotten traumatized by the mother getting shot. Enjoy the therapy sessions. I'm giving Bambi an 8 out of 10. This is Mashit and Snap. Whoa! You. That's right, Mashit. It is I, man! Get away from me! Ha-ha! Stand still, boy! Ha-ha-ha! I've got you now! Damn it! Out of ammo! We'll meet again, Mashit. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go pollute the ocean, club baby seals, harass women, and vote Republican. No! You monster! When will we learn? This is Mashit and Smash It. When will we learn?
Let's sing a gay little spring song. This is the season to sing. So I'd like to suggest that we all do our best and warble a song about